Hey stars, it's me, Shorter Star, and I'm back. I told you I would be back. Didn't I tell you that? Listen, I want to continue to thank you guys for your support, for your subscribing and following and commenting, all those things. I love it. Listen, today here in New York and New Jersey, it's the temperature's a little chilly, so I use any excuse to drink me some tea. You already know. Okay, so I received a couple of emails, right? And they were asking me why haven't I been talking about the Tamar story, Tamar Braxton. And I honestly, the answer is what story? She hasn't said anything other than what she said in the beginning. And she did do a post this morning. So let's backtrack it a little bit. Now, y'all know who Tamar is. Y'all know Tamar. We followed her on social media. She's a singer. We buy her music. We've seen her on the Braxton's Family Values and just all that stuff for years, right? And we know Tamar is extra. Period. You know, she liked the razzle dazzle. You know, it's just always something with Tamar. So we learned to accept Tamar for who Tamar is. However, when she did that post and said that her friend found her in a pool of blood, first of all, she had me at the word pool. Like, girl, you're already pushing it from the first three words. And a pool of blood? Really? Okay. So she said a friend found her in a pool of blood with a fractured nose, four missing teeth. Um, girl, I, I I don't know. I was getting a stunt tease. That's what I was getting there. And I think I said that on that video 2 videos ago when I mentioned it. I'm getting stunt tease. And then when I find out that Tamar has an album that's dropping, she either has a movie with Mandisi or a video, like a music video with Mandisi that's dropping. And then her family's reality show, The Braxtons, is dropping in October. So I mean, she's busy. So I'm like, I'm getting to see me, pay me some attention, get into what I'm doing right now. Tease from Tamar, and it's normal, and it's that thing. So that's why I didn't feed into it. And again, she didn't tell us much. And there was things that she could have told us that she didn't tell us. Like for instance, when she said, "Oh, um, a friend found me in a pool of blood." Okay, who's the friend? And where did they find you? Did they find you at home, Tamar? Did they find you in a hotel, Tamar? You can be somewhere doing a performance. I mean, come on, be a little more clear about what the situation is. Did they find you on a curb in front of your house in a pool of blood? Like, what is it? And then I was thinking, okay, it could be because she has a flair for the dramatics. So I said, you know what? It could be something. It could have happened, but it could have been like a home accident. And I know about home accidents. And I told you guys, people have a lot of accidents at home. They just don't talk about it. They're embarrassed to admit, damn, I fell down my own damn stairs. Or I walked through a plate glass window, my screen doors, because it was so clean and I thought it was open and I walked through it. Like people are ashamed of that for some reason. So whatever. So I thought it was an accident that could have happened at home. And she was just trying to pump it up a little bit. Or she hung out the night before. We saw a video of her the night before. So could she have been out? Could she have had a couple of drinks? Could she have been, a little tipsy, slipped, fell, whatever. But with her being so, just like giving these little tidbits, I wasn't feeling it. And then with the four missing teeth, girl, come on, really? Okay, so that was that. But then I found out she had these things coming up. She has all these things that's coming up, and it sounds promotion. It's giving me a promotional tease. It's giving me a see me, see me, see me. Like Tamar, we're used to that with her, right? She loves to be seen, and that's fine. And girl, you heard me. I said it. You love to be seen. If you see this video, we not lying. We learn to accept Tamar for who Tamar is. That's it. Okay, so that's all I had to say about it. So there you got it. Because you asked me why I haven't spoke about it. I didn't feel it was anything to really speak about, to be really honest with you. But I mean, if that's what y'all want, and I'm not the only one that's feeling she's giving me a stunt tease. That's what it is. A stunt. It's a stunt. It's nothing we haven't seen before. But I mean, she has a flip for the dramatic, so it's always going to be a little extra. Okay. And we all could be extra. That's fine. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. But don't put us on high alert over something that's not really that serious. It was an accident, whatever it is, if it's anything allegedly. Okay, so how many of you got, well, a lot of you guys at a certain age is going to know who John Amos is, right? And John Amos is the father, James Evans, from Good Times, from one of our favorite 70s, early 80s shows, right? So John Amos passed away last year, August 21st, 2024. And John Amos didn't live far from where me and my family live right now in Jersey. He had a house in the Oranges somewhere, so he didn't live far. So you're familiar with John, right? And also remember, he was the father McDowell's, remember, were coming to America. So if you can't remember far back, then remember that, McDowell's. So he has two kids, and he has a daughter and he has a son, and his daughter name is Shannon, right? Amos, and the son name is Kelly KC Christopher Amos. So they call him KC Amos, KC. Well, apparently Shannon is suing. She filed a lawsuit against KC, the brother, accusing him of elderly abuse, fraud, and wrongful death. What she's saying that KC manipulated their ailing father into signing new wills, trusts, and power of attorney that handed him near total control of the entire estate while neglecting the actor's medical care and cutting her and other heirs out of any inheritance. So I said, oh, okay, so there's some money involved. So then what I said was, let me see how much money is involved. But also, what she did was she also involved his former caretaker, this Miss Belinda Foster, and his close associate Eugene Brummett and his production company. So she's trying to get it at all little angles, little Miss Shannon. Okay. But I have some questions for you, Shannon, Miss Girl. What was your relationship like with your father or your brother or any other family members that was in talks or in communication with your father? Because as you admit that he passed away August 21st, but the announcement of his death wasn't until October 1st. And you stated you found out about your father's death when we found out about your father's death, which would be October 1st. So what kind of relationship did you have with your ailing father, as you said, that you didn't know he had passed 6 weeks? Just a question. I'll wait. And even if there wasn't a communication directly with him because of whatever his ailments were, because he passed away allegedly from congestive heart failure. And that's where you're coming in with the lawsuit to your brother for elder abuse, saying that the son didn't take care of the father the way he should have, and possibly allegedly not giving him his medicine when he needed, which might have something to do with him passing when he did. Fraud for having him sign wills, trusts, and power of attorneys when legally he may not have been in the right state of mind to do so. And then you went as far as wrongful death. So, okay. Now, there's two things I want to say before I end this with this John Amos story, right? I already asked the question about the relationship with the daughter and what was it really with the father when you didn't even know your father had passed 6 weeks before. So that's a question. Okay, I'm still waiting, but whatever. Also, this question is for the son. Why did you wait 6 months to announce your father's passing? He wasn't just Joe Schmo, anybody. He was John Amos. Okay? So people knew, he had fans, he had people who loved him and respected him, and I'm sure that would want to know. However, within those 6 weeks of you not telling anybody that he passed, you had him cremated. Why was that? Why was that? Well, as I further read into the story, the son KC is claiming that it was his father's final wishes to not announce his passing for quite some time because, you ready for this? Because his daughter Shannon was going to use his passing for financial gain, and he didn't want that to happen. So Casey claims that the father's last wish was to not announce his passing for a certain length of time. And as we know, it's been for 6 weeks. So for her to say she found out when we found out, that's diabolical. But it lets me know what was going on with this family. Okay, so like I said, the lawsuit has just been filed. It's going to go to court, and it's going to take some time. But my question to you is, I wanted to find out what was he worth. And what I found out, John Amos, at the time of his passing, he was worth anywhere between $300,000 and $3 million. And somewhere lies the truth. Okay? So they're fighting over something. And my thing to the two children, his main heirs, regardless of who else, he's only had 2 children, his main heirs, if you continue to go this route, you still will get nothing. The only people that's going to prosper from this is going to be the attorneys. The attorneys are going to be the only one dragging this on for a few years, charging you out the caboose, and they're going to get the money. Because if you think of it, between 300,000 and 3 million, it's a lot of money. It's lifetime money for some people. But when you're going through a lawsuit and you're paying 3 or 4 different attorneys, that's not a lot of money. So just put it out there, food for thought. I was like, wow. So like I said, we're definitely going to hear more about this because that's just what it is. It's what it is. We have to hear some juicy tidbits, maybe. I don't know. And I want to know what the relationship with the father, with the brother and the sister, what that's really about and what's that really like. Okay, so normally I bring you stories about the airplanes and all their mishaps, their exploding engines and exploding tires and wings coming off. And I have 2 stories in particular that have nothing to do with the fault of the airline. It's why flights are delayed and canceled minutes before takeoff because of passengers and the actions they have going on with the bathroom. Okay, so the first incident involves the United Airlines flight cancellation due to a passenger's bathroom action occurred when Megan Reinstein, a writer and actor, suffered from severe food poisoning and had to remain in the lavatory for 90 minutes. This was a flight that was supposed to leave from Newark to Indianapolis. Her actions led to a hazmat response and the eventual cancellation of the flight. Okay, so what they're saying in the story is, you know how people let you on the plane and apparently she beelined it to the bathroom. So the plane is still loading. She's in the bathroom and she's alleging that she either ate something bad the night before or the day of, but it gave her food poisoning and it kept her in the restroom, right? And if they're saying for 90 minutes. And like all of us know about flying, everyone has to be in their seat and seat belted in. They can't be in the bathrooms and roaming the cabin while the planes are taking off and doing what they do, right? So that delayed the flight because she's in the bathroom and they can't get her out the bathroom. So finally, when she decides to release the dragon and come out the bathroom, it wound up being a hazmat response, a hazmat situation. Okay? So she turned that bathroom lingo. She turned that bathroom out. For them to have to bring hazmat to deplane the people off the plane and bring hazmat, that means that's the suits and the hat. You're not supposed to breathe in anything and you're not supposed to touch anything. Hazmat. Okay, so that flight was delayed 90 minutes and then canceled minutes before takeoff because of a passenger. Okay, so the second story involves a passenger, a delay, and a cancellation, and a bathroom. Okay, so this one is the United Airlines flight from San Francisco to Mexico was canceled on Tuesday after a passenger smoked marijuana in the plane's bathroom. The incident occurred on United Flight UA 1679, which had already been delayed due to technical issues. The delay reportedly made one passenger restless, leading them to smoke marijuana in the lavatory. The passenger was removed from the aircraft, but the flight crew faced another dilemma: concerns about secondhand marijuana smoke exposure. So the pilot decided to cancel the flight entirely. The pilot made an announcement on the loudspeaker for the passengers, and this is verbatim: I have 30 years left of my career with United. So I'm assuming he's a new pilot to have 30 years left. Um, he says, I have 30 years left as a pilot, and I am not willing to risk getting drug tested at our first stop, the pilot announced to the passengers, which means the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, has strict policies against pilots operating under the influence of any substance, and that's including marijuana. So passengers were deplaned and offered a $15 meal voucher while the flight awaited to be replaced, for the plane and the crew to be replaced. Many passengers expressed frustrations over the incident, calling the passengers' actions just selfish. Well, first off, United, you got a lot of nerve to give them people a $15 meal voucher. And I'm trying to think, what on earth can you actually spend $15 on in the airport? And what conclusion I've come to is the big large or thing of water, which is what, $6 or $7. Then you may be able to get a bag of chips for about another $5. Yeah. So you giving out a $15 voucher for food, meaning whatever I buy over 15, I have to add to it. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But back to the story. Listen, I understand. I understand why the pilot didn't want to he wouldn't take the chance, because again, if he inhaled that and received a certain type of high from it, a contact high, and then because someone was known, there's been a report that someone smoked marijuana on his plane, they are definitely going to drug test him. And what if he comes up positive? So I get it. I get it. But this is just again letting letting you guys know that it's not always the planes; it's sometimes the passengers. Now, I have one last story about air travel, and I found it interesting because I've never actually heard of this on a commercial airline. And tell me if you have. It says travel chaos as 20 passengers forced off of plane as it became too heavy. Again, 20 passengers forced off of plane as it became too heavy. Well, this is how it goes. 20 passengers were forced off of a flight after the plane became too heavy to take off due to extreme heat. Now, if you remember at the beginning of August, the end of July, the beginning of August, this month, we had been going through a lot of heat issues, meaning heat waves, and it had been going across the United States, and even in Europe, they were reporting and having heat advisories because it was so hot. Well, this particular flight is in Italy, and it was flying to London. And apparently, the scorching temperatures in Italy resulted in less dense air, which requires more fuel for the plane to reach a cruising altitude. This extra fuel weight led to the removal of the passengers. Okay, so what they're saying is because of the heat and it was so hot that the air was less dense, which means they needed more fuel to reach cruising altitudes. So they had to add more fuel because of the air being dense, and adding that extra fuel added weight to the plane. And I've never heard of this on a commercial airline. I've heard of this on private planes. Even if we go back to Aaliyah, allegedly that was the reason her flight crashed, was because it was overloaded and overweight. Remember? So I understand that, but I have never heard of that on a commercial airline. And I thought it was interesting, but apparently you can't mess with Mother Nature, you know? Okay, so another way that you can't deal with Mother Nature or mess with them, and this is something that we've been hearing a lot of lately. So I'm going to bring up the story, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so this states teen drowns in strong current while swimming with family at popular beach destination. And we've just actually gone through that. If you go back to the Malcolm Jamal Warner story, remember that's what led to his demise and his unaliving was the strong water currents. And it has just wound up taking you out. So, and it doesn't have anything to do with your experience in swimming. Because you're hearing people that are expert swimmers go through this once the current gets you, and we're no match for water. We're no match for Mother Nature, period. Okay, so a teenager drowned while swimming with his family at Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. The 17-year-old passed away after him and his father, who was 61 years old, were pulled from the water when they were swept away on Sunday evening by a powerful ocean current. According to New Hampshire State Police Marine Protocol, authorities received a report of a possible drowning around 6:45 p.m. Witnesses said the teen had been swimming with his family when a strong current carried him far away from the shore. The father reportedly entered the water to an attempt to rescue his son, but also found himself in distress. Okay, so somebody had to go get him and the son. And although lifeguards were off duty at the time, because I believe lifeguards signed off at 6 and this happened at 6:45. So they weren't gone, but they were off duty. They were doing whatever it is they do. Okay, Baywatch. Maybe they're running up and down the beach. I don't know. But although the lifeguards were off duty at the time, they were called back and quickly responded. They managed to bring both individuals to shore and immediately began life-saving measures on the teen. The father and son were transported to a local hospital where the teen was later pronounced unalived. His father was treated and is in stable condition. Authorities have not yet released the teen's name. And I'm just saying, because we're getting towards the end of the summer and people are doing their last minute vacations and beach runs and road trips before the kids here have to go back to school. Now, I'm aware in other states, kids are already back to school, but here the kids officially go back to school in September. And we're now at the end of August. Be careful, be safe, be intentional. I don't care the age of the child. And don't say, oh, he's a swimmer. He's been swimming for years. Once that current gets you, that's it. It doesn't matter how well you swim. So pay attention. And like I said, we just went through this same exact thing with the Malcolm Jamal Warner issue. That's exactly what his story was allegedly. Okay, so you have to be safe out there, guys. Now, this next story is about a 19-year-old Georgia man, right? He was pop-out and unalived in his sleep by a 3-year-old toddler who got a hold of his firearm. Okay. So a 19-year-old Georgia man was found unalive on Monday morning after a 3-year-old accidentally gained access to his gun and pow-powed him in the back of the head while the rest of the family and the rest of the household was still asleep. Authorities in Hiram, Georgia responded to a pow-pow in the quaint Culture-Sack neighborhood shortly after 7 a.m. on Monday. Deputies found Cabrillo Patterson, 19, with a pow-pow sustained to the back of his head. They tried in vain to save his life until emergency responders arrived, but he was soon pronounced unalived on the scene. And what I found out about this, because I kept saying, even though, first off, you think 19, you're thinking illegal gun. That's not necessarily the case, because you're thinking down south and you're thinking Georgia. I think they trained them with guns as kids and they could get a hunting license and everything else. So they didn't mention anything about this being an illegal firearm, which means he should have had some training on how to put away and to store your firearm. However, they did state in the report that he didn't live there. So I'm assuming he's a family member that visited, but ended up staying later and wound up spending the night. And somewhere along the line of the night before the 7 a.m., the baby, the 3-year-old toddler, got loose around the house and got a hold to his gun. And it went off, and that's what happened. And that can happen to any one of us. Like I said, this is something that could have been avoided, absolutely avoided. And We talk about gun safety pretty often. And if nothing else, even back in my day, um, if someone had a firearm, legal or illegal, okay, it was at the highest point of festivity, meaning it was put so high up on the shelf somewhere, you probably couldn't reach it. Nevertheless, a child. So there were things that people would do. Not saying it was any safer, but apparently he didn't even attempt to do that. Well, this next story, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't tell a lot of same-sex stories and things, but they exist. And get into it. We're here. It is what it is, and you're going to hear more. And this particular story comes from 2021. However, the person was just sentenced to life in prison just recently. So I'm going to tell you the story, and I'm going to show you the picture of the two men that we're talking about. Okay? So, man, Pow Pow's boyfriend in the head, drank with corpse, drove around 6 hours showing it off. This is what was revealed in the trial that was recent. So this is the picture of the two people that we're talking about, the two boyfriends. And the one in the orange is the one I would assume is the one that did the Pow Pow, which is Taj Wall, who's 24. And his boyfriend was named Melvin Hopper. And again, this happened back in May 2021 in Gaston County, North Carolina. Taj Wall, 24, has now been found guilty of first-degree murder for the execution-style shooting of his boyfriend, Melvin Hopper, in May of 2021. Right? Prosecutors revealed during testimony, Wall shot Hopper. Give me 1 second. He shot Hopper in the back of the head, then proceeded to drive around with his body in the passenger seat for 6 hours, even showing it off to others during the trip. I don't even know what to say about that. I always tell you about conflict resolution, but to do something this diabolical, there's some mental illness in this. Okay, according to the court testimony, after shooting Hopper, Wall didn't speak, help, or contact authorities. Instead, he drove through the community with the body beside him and allegedly displayed it to at least two neighbors and one other individual, with one person saying that he believed Wall did this to show dominance. Now, if I'm correct, dominance is control and taking over a situation. Kind sir, as far as I'm concerned, you have the dominance. You're in control because the person next to you is no longer alive. So you have complete control over this situation at this point. Hello? I don't know. I don't know. Listen, what I do know is the jury convicted Walls, who now faces a mandatory life sentence in prison without no possibility of parole. The verdict comes after the judge rejected his self-defense argument. Sentencing is scheduled in the near future, but I didn't tell you he did. He had the nerve to try to defend. His argument was he acted in self-defense, claiming Hopper had a gun and had been physically abusive to him. Wall said he was scared, and that's why he drove around to find his mom to ask her some questions before turning himself in. But prosecutors countered there was no evidence of any other gun besides his. And Hopper posed no immediate threat. Remember, he shot him in the back of the head. What type of threat was he? Right. So, yeah. So again, he is in jail for life without possibility of parole. And that's what that is. Well, since we're speaking of just the craziest things, let's talk about this dad who impregnated his daughter, his own daughter. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to read you the headline. As you can see, dad impregnates daughter, drove her to Mexico to get abortion before she delivered stillborn in Walmart's bathroom. Okay, so that's the father, as you see. And now let's get to the story. Let's get to the story. Again, that's the dad. And now we're going to get to the story. And Texas, this happened in Texas. So remember, Texas is a drive. You can drive to Mexico. Just keep that in mind. Texas officials say a dad essayed his 17-year-old daughter, who then became pregnant with his child and delivered a stillborn in a Walmart bathroom after he took her to Mexico to have an abortion. Jerry Lee Martinez, 45, now faces a sexual assault of a child charge. Jail records show he was previously, okay, listen to this. He was previously charged with abandoning and endangering a child with criminal negligence, along with tampering with a witness and tampering with physical evidence. So the local ABC affiliate obtained an arrest affidavit that said Martinez's daughter told detectives that her father began touching her inappropriate when she was 15 years old. The affidavit reportedly alleged that Martinez assaulted the minor several times over the last 2 years, and she became pregnant with his child. Surprise, surprise. When he learned the girl was pregnant, his daughter, Martinez repeatedly punched her in the stomach, trying to, I'm sure, to do what you think he was trying to do, but that didn't work. So then he drove the girl to Mexico last Monday to have an abortion. Per the affidavit, she allegedly delivered a stillborn in the Walmart bathroom in Kingsville that night and then threw the child in the trash. Walmart employees found the baby and called police, who later spotted Martinez and the teens and stopped their vehicle. Martinez was arrested while the girl was taken to a secure location. And now he's being tried and we're going to wait to see what that turned out. So the father's been essaying the daughter for 2 years. She became pregnant. He tried by punching her in the stomach, hoping that she would lose it then, allegedly, but that didn't happen. So he wound up driving her to Mexico, which isn't far from Texas. And I'm sure Mexico, if they have any, I'm not quite sure, allegedly, I don't even know if they have any abortion rules and regulations and laws that, I don't know. I'm not Mexican. However, on her way to get that done, they stopped at a Walmart. She wound up going into the bathroom and giving birth the stillborn and putting the stillborn in the garbage. And of course, some employees found the baby, and of course they rewound the videotapes and they saw who it was. And then I guess they followed the videotapes to the, I'm alleging, to the parking lot to get their car information and license plates. And that's how they caught up to them and stopped them. So yeah. Well, my last story, guys. How many of us love Uno? Now, we some Uno playing fools, right? Well, Uno Social Club launches in Las Vegas, right? Give me 1 second. I want to show you what it looks like because they're already setting it up. Uno is going to be the game in the casinos now. Okay. And I don't know how they're going to control it. They're going to have to put these rules up the size of a building because people, I know how we do. We be making up some rules as we go along, and them people ain't going to be having it. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Uno Social Club launches in Las Vegas, bringing iconic card game to casinos worldwide. And I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. It says Uno is now being introduced as a table game in Las Vegas through the launch of the first ever Uno Social Club at the Palms Casino Resort. And so right now, if you want to play Uno as a table game, right now it's available at the Uno Social Club at the Palms Casino Resort in Las Vegas. And they said that other casinos are going to catch on and pick up. And before you know it, it's going to be Uno, reverse, draw four, those type of things. Listen, I love you guys. I'm not going to keep you long. Like I said, I know we have a holiday weekend coming up, so I'm going to try to get back to you before that. I love you guys. Be intentional. Check on your strong friends. Check on your strong family members. And until next time, I love you guys. Peace.